Good morning, everybody. Hello, hello. I guess I don't need that anymore. Um, Welcome, everyone. How's everybody doing today? I just had to do a last minute, 2 minutes before this tech talk, computer restart. So let's settle here. Everybody, what's up? How's it going? Let me go grab the chat real quick because it's always fun to see chat on screen. Gets the energy going this early in the morning. I don't know if it's early anymore. I'm running out of my times. So let's bring that up. Let's bring this up. And what's up? What's up, Sheldon? Eddie says, I'm looking forward to this. I can't count the amount of times I've Googled or tried to find out how to make an API. And this is going to be an easy one. We are going to get most of the API done in, I don't know, 4 to 10 minutes. Like you'll see how awesome it is to use Strappy, which is a Node JavaScript framework to build out APIs. I really enjoy using Strappy. What's up, Jimmy B? Welcome back. Khalid, welcome back. Sheldon, what's up? Ooh, Spiros Luis 1 from Greece. Everybody, where are you coming in from? Let's get the energy up in here. I love it. I am coming in from Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah, and if you have a chance to come visit, we have more than casinos. We have some great outdoors. We've got great restaurants. Eddie, Shong, Erland, Jimmy B, Sheldon from Ireland, Jimmy B, Texas. I just recently came back from Texas. My first time over to, where was I? Austin and Waco. What's up, Bruno? Lucky S777777 from Ukraine. Is that Simon from Spain? Welcome. Oligoli from Dhaka, Bangladesh. No name. Is it possible to pull the database models from an existing database into Strappy? I don't know of a way. And last time I checked, there wasn't a way to do it. I think you just kind of have to import it yourself. But hoping that some of the Strappy team is here in chat. If anyone is, hello. And yeah, Prisma does a great job with their introspection feature, where they can look into a database and pull what's out of that database as far as schema goes. Fabian from Colombia, Kopilov from Ukraine, Liam from Canada. I love it. Hello from Spain, Javier. Leandro from Portugal. George from Athens. Mohammed from Pakistan. What's up, everybody? Welcome. I love it when we do this. This gets me going, and I am excited to get here to do this API stuff because in our last Tech Talk, which I feel like was yesterday, time flies, we're in December now. Our last Tech Talk was on Laravel, building an API, and we did that with a Laravel API. We built pretty much like a Twitter clone, but we added an edit button. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do the same thing in Strappy so you can see how it works in the Node Strappy land. And what's really fun is 2 days ago, Strappy came out with their big new version, V4. I had originally planned on this being V3, but here is V4, so we're going to do it on V4. Most of the stuff is the exact same, but they give you a lot more power under the hood, so we'll talk about that. King from the Philippines, Falk from Germany, Dario from Germany as well, Robinson from Kenya. All right, let's get it started. Can we set up the API with our own domain from Eddie? Absolutely, you can. You can do it a couple different ways. You can deploy it to App Platform, which is DigitalOcean's platform as a service, and then you can just add your domain to it. So you could have your domain at, like, let's say, myapi.com, or you could deploy it to a subdomain like api.mymainsite.com. So there's all the options you can deploy either way. Let me bring that out and let's get started. So here we have Strappy, which if you haven't checked it out, strappy.io. It is a Node CMS, open source, headless CMS, built in JavaScript, and that lets us build out APIs really quickly. And the cool thing about Strappy that we didn't see in Laravel is Laravel was all code. You're building out your database, your models, your migrations, your controllers, everything in your code. In Strappy land, you get this really nice GUI graphical user interface. You get a really nice dashboard. So if you as a developer want to give your users, let's say your team, a way to manage content, in Laravel, you had to find a solution. You had to build a solution on top of it. And there are great options. Here in Strappy, it comes built in with the framework, which is really nice. So let's get started. Let's just jump right into it. We're going to use this npx create Strappy app, my project quick start. And this quick start basically says, let's use SQLite under the hood, which is a local flat file database that we can use. So I'm going to copy this right here. I'm going to go over here. And usually these tech talks, there's a lot of content in the hour. So it's a little bit harder to follow along. If you wanted to follow along here, I would say that this is one of the tech talks where you can follow along because of how nice Strappy's dashboard is. So if you wanted to follow along, go to strappy.io, go grab the code right here, copy that. Let's go into our terminal and I'm going to paste that in. But instead of it, my project, I'm going to call it my Strappy project. So this right here is the folder that you're going to create, the project that you're going to create. Hey, Bruno, that's awesome. Bruno says that has a Strappy backend already working on DigitalOcean. And while this is spinning up, let me go show you something. If you go to Docs and you go to Developer Docs, down here under Deployment, for Setup and Deployment, you go to Deployment. There are hosting provider guides and optional software guides. So if you go to Hosting Provider, check this out. We have two for App Platform, for DigitalOcean App Platform, and one for DigitalOcean Droplets. So two for DigitalOcean, and you can take your Strappy application and deploy it to DigitalOcean. You can host it on a $5 droplet if you want. I believe it would take about $10 of App Platform to do it for your backend plus your database. And the cool thing about App Platform is that you can add on, let's say, a MySQL database or a Postgres database and link it to your Strappy application. And now you have a production-ready API. The other cool thing about this is, I don't think it's live yet, but Strappy has pricing page. Well, let me come back to that. But let me go to the pricing page for Strappy. You can self-host it. And since it's open source, it's free forever. And you can use it, deploy it wherever you want. Like we said, you can deploy to DigitalOcean. Or there's a cloud option where, not available yet, but you can just go ahead and spin up a whole Strappy backend from their website. And they'll give you a URL for your API. So all sorts of great options to get an API live. Let's see, let's go back here. So after my command is done running, so it went ahead, it created everything, and it actually started the development server for me already. And now you can see everything at localhost 1337/admin. So this is the local URL that you can use to start building out your API. Oh, Jimmy B says, Node is too new. What are you on? 17, cutting edge. All right, so that's good to note. It looks like you should be on 12 to 16 if you're running Strappy. All right, so Strappy v4 gave us a really nice UI refresh. I think they did a really good job with their inputs. All of their entire UI looks a lot better, I think, than v3. So let's get started. Chris, right here, last name Sev, email csevaleja@digitalocean.com. That's my full last name. I'm just going to do a password 123. Don't do that. Password 123. Eddie says, what did you call your project? I called it My Strappy Project. And you could name it whatever you wanted. It would all just create a brand new folder with that name. So it doesn't really matter what you call it. I'll click Start. And this is your Strappy dashboard. So what we have here is some really good onboarding. So code examples, documentation, tutorials, blog, all that good stuff right there. And then let's see. Well, let me pull up. Sorry, I got to get my notes over here. And what else do we have? We have create your first content type. So that's the first action that Strappy wants you to take. So where are we at on time? So we are 13 minutes in. I want to see how fast we can build an API from here and still take our time. So let's see, create your first content type. If you're talking about an API, every API is going to have some sort of data. Some sort of data that it stores, gives out to users using JSON. In this case, we're going to use tweets. So create a new collection type. And over here, you see user is the first one. It's built into Strappy because Strappy comes out of the box with authentication and user and roles and a way to add authorization to your API. So we'll talk about that in a second, but that is a huge win for building out APIs is anytime you deal with authentication, authorization, it's not fun. So let's go over here. Let's see, create a new collection type, create your first collection type. Where's the button to do this? Let's go over here, create a new collection type on the left. I'll click that. Display name, we're going to call them tweets. API ID singular, that'll be tweet. API ID for plural will be tweets. I'm going to click continue. Bruno, that's interesting. So let's start building out our model for our tweets. So every tweet should probably have text. And we'll just call this, I don't know, body text. Actually don't know what to call it. Let's call it text or content. That makes sense. You can do short text, which is good for this scenario. Long text is more for like longer things like blog posts. I think short text is good because it also enables search on that field. And you can go to advanced settings. You can set default values. You can do required maximum length. If you're Twitter, you're doing what, 280 these days. You can set that to unique. So if you had like an email or something that you wanted to be completely unique, you could force that. So whenever you use the API, it automatically invalidates it. And look how much power this has out of the box. In Laravel, we would have to build a lot of this in code. Here, we're just clicking some buttons. I'm going to click add another field. And let's do number for likes. Number format. We have different types of number formats, integer, big integer. We're just going to do integer. I don't think I'm popular enough to get up to these numbers yet. Advanced settings, you can do default value. We'll start it at 0. See how there we go, 0. Required field, no. Maximum value, minimum value. We'll leave it right there. Okay, so let's finish. So now our tweets has content and likes. And I think for now, let's leave it there. We can always edit this later. I'm going to click save. It restarts our local server. So now we can go over to Content Manager and check this out. We have 2 collection types right here, tweets and users. It's weird that one's not plural, but that's okay. So if we have people on our team that we want to manage content, we would just give them their content manager. They wouldn't need to know any of this stuff. Most of this down here, plugins in general, is for us as developers. But here, let's say we add a tweet, content. Let's say, what's up, Eddie? Likes, let's do 10. And then we can save this. So we have a nice UI to work with our content. I'm going to click publish. We also have a draft and publish feature in Strappy. So I'm going to click publish. All right, so now we have one piece of content that is able to be used from an API. So let's see if we can get this from our API. So the way that we do this is we have localhost 1337 is our URL. We can go to localhost 1337/API/tweets and check this out. It is able to give us data back as if we were an API. So technically, we're 4 minutes into building this out, and we have an API. We don't have our data coming out because of the authentication, but we have an API. What's up, Avnish? So we have an API, but everything is 403 forbidden. 403 is an authorization HTTP code. So we're saying, let's go give access to this user. So if we go back to our dashboard, let me zoom out. We go to tweets. Everything in Strappy by default is locked down. No access to anything until you grant it. So you have to explicitly grant access. So we're going to go to settings, users and permissions plugin. This is a built-in Strappy plugin that gives people access. If we go to roles, we have authenticated users. We could add new roles. Like let's say we had an author user, an admin user. We can go to public, which is what we just used. Here's our new content type, tweet. And let's say publicly, we should be able to find tweets and find one tweet. So a person can see all the tweets in our database and see one specific tweet, but they shouldn't be able to create, delete, or update because they're not logged in at this point. What's up, Alvin? Good to see you again. So we'll hit find. And the cool thing about this is that it gives you the API URL for this, API/tweets, and find one is API/tweets/ID. So if we have that right there, we're going to click save. Strappy should have updated our roles and permissions for tweets now. If we go back here, refresh, we're able to see data, and we have the first object in our database, which is that first tweet that we just created, what's up, Eddie, with 10 likes. Baruz, what's up? Welcome back. So check that out. It is, when did we start? At 13. So it's been 7 minutes. We have an API. We're spitting out data. We even have pagination on it. We have roles and authorization. Let's go do one more. Content manager, tweets, add new entry. Let's go for, hey there, Steven. Let's go for 20 likes on this one. Zoom out so it's not so cramped. I'm going to click save, and I'm going to click publish. Actually, let's show you what that looks like. Let's refresh here. And our draft tweets do not get pushed out to the API yet. So we have to go back here, click publish, and then we can go back to our API, click refresh, and now we have two coming out of our API. So really, really cool stuff. It took us, I'm not trying to bash on Laravel. I absolutely love Laravel, built a lot of things on Laravel. But these new sets of tools like Strappy, like our headless CMSs these days, they let you build faster APIs. And that's what I really think is fantastic about this. So there you go. We have tweets. We have 2 of them. We're able to access them from our API. And we're 20 minutes into this talk, and 10 of the minutes was having fun and saying, hey. So we'll take a break for a second. And where do we want to go from here? There's a couple things I want to do. I want to do authentication. I want to do creating a user account and then using that to access the API for authenticated requests. I also want to talk about relationships as well. But does anyone have any questions while we're here? Let's take a quick second. Anybody like Strappy? Anybody thinking about using Strappy in their own projects? A lot of good stuff in Strappy. And if you used V3 before this is V4. If you used V3, then you probably saw the old UI, and this UI I think is much improved on it. King says a good question. How about image uploading from the front end? So if you go to the Strappy docs, here are the Strappy docs. Down here at the bottom, there's development plugins. Down here under guides, if you click guides, there's a lot of good stuff in here. I'm pretty sure a file upload is somewhere in there. File upload. That's configuring the upload. So basically, what we can talk about here is if I go to content type builder, so let's edit this tweets. Let's go to content type builder. I'm going to add another field right here. You can actually change this out to be media. So you can have multiple media types. So a tweet can have multiple images uploaded to it, or single media. Let's say you want a tweet to only have one image. Let's call it image. Let's do single media for this. Click finish, click save. So now we have this. If we go to content manager, I'll go to a new entry. We have the ability to click an image right now. So let's go to Unsplash. Let's go get a dog. Classics. All right, this one will do. Oh, that's right. They got bought by iStock Photo. Interesting. Let's go for this one right here. I'm going to save image to my desktop. That's fine. Then come over here, upload that image. Desktop, please. Thank you. Upload one asset to the media library and finish that. And it uses there. Content, look at this doggo. And of course, doggo gets 100 likes. Save, publish. And let's go see what this looks like from the API. So if I refresh our API/tweets, we should get, look at this doggo, content likes. Where is the image? That's interesting. I wonder if I need to restart my dev server. npm run develop is how you start the Strappy. Oh, I'm not in the project. My Strappy project. npm run develop. Okay, so we are back and running. Let's go back here, refresh. Where is our images? All right, so I am not doing so great on the image upload, but it is possible. And the docs have an example of how to do it from the API. A lot of good questions coming in here. So let's go through these and then we'll jump back into doing like authentication authorization. All right, so Spiros Luis has a great question here. Can I build a custom endpoint? So what is happening here is, let me open up VS Code. A lot of great questions. Yes, this is fantastic because these are all questions I had as well when I was starting to work with Strappy. There's a lot of power with their dashboard, but once you start getting a little bit further, these are the questions that come up. So yeah, let's talk about them. So let's see. My Strappy project is a project. Open that up in VS Code. Close this one. Maximize that one. And zoom in. Okay. So when we did that npx create Strappy app, what was that command? What it did was essentially create a folder on our local machine with this folder structure. So this is Strappy. This is the Strappy framework. And what's cool is if you wanted to, you could do most of your Strappy work in the file structure, in the code. So a lot of you are already asking, hey, the dashboard is great, but I have a lot of questions on, can I do like conditional things? Can I do custom endpoints? So if you go to source and you go to API, this is the API models that we just created. So the tweet that we just created is right here. And there's content types, there's schema. So inside of the schema, we have attributes for content, it's just type string, likes, which is integer, image for allowed types, type media, multiple is false. So all of the things that we did in the dashboard corresponds to files in our folder structure. And if we go to routes right here, tweet.js, if we wanted custom routes, if we wanted custom controllers or custom services, we could add them all here and we could use them to supplement what Strapi has already done for us. So there's a lot of greatness in the simplicity of the dashboard, but when you want to break out and start doing more advanced things, you can do that all in the files right here. So the cool thing about this is that the Strappy docs do a great job of doing use cases for like file uploads, of doing use cases for creating custom routes and stuff like that. All right, a lot of questions. So let's see. Custom logic, I think that's what dynamic zones was talking about as well. Let's go take a peek. So if we go into the dashboard right now, we're going to find that in content type builder. So we can have single type, we can have components, which are reusable across different content types. But let's go to add another field. This is where we start. We have all of our basic fields, enumeration, date, all that stuff, relation, and there are components, which are reusable parts. Let's say you had content was a reusable part, or let's say content plus image was usable in tweets and in something else like posts. You could do that. And dynamic zone, let's see. No space, add a new dynamic zone. What would be dynamic? Let's say, I got nothing at this point. Anybody in chat got anything for me? I'm just going to write test until somebody says something better. Add components. So dynamic zones are based on components, it looks like. Display name, we're going to say, I don't know, note. Select the category or enter a name to create a new one. Let's just write a bunch of stuff and then we'll see how it works. And I will click the text right here. Add first field to this component. And select a field for your component. So our new component should have rich text. Let's do content right here. Finish. Okay. So check this out. This is the dynamic zone that we were talking about. Test, which is a terrible name. Add a component for content. All right. So let's save this and let's see what it looks like in the editor. Pretty cool. This is the first time I've used these myself, so we're all learning here together. Ooh, dynamic retweets. That's a good one, Julian. Okay, so let's go to add new entry for the tweets. Add a component to test. Pick a component. So I don't know if, I think the question earlier was how do we get this to dynamically show up if something else exists? Maybe it was back in the content type builder, but maybe we didn't set it up correctly. But I think we're on the right track. So add another field, add a component. Let's see if we can click note. Let's see if we can edit this, advanced settings. There's no like conditionals in here, so yeah. All right, that was fun. I'm sure the Strappy docs have more on that. I'll have to play around with that too. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's see. Bruno says relations are not populated by default. Bruno, do you have a link to that in the docs? But in V3 they were, I believe, and in V4 it sounds like they're not. So maybe we need to do like an include or something. Let's see. Maybe you need public permissions on the image field. Yeah, maybe we do. Oh, Bruno already wrote it in. I just need to catch up on chat. Populate field. So let's go to our API right here. API/tweet/populate. um, image. What do we call it? Let's go look at our content type, tweets, image with a capital. Let's see if that makes a difference. There it is. Okay, so we needed to specifically call the API and say get relationships with this populate. And down here, there's the one that we had attributes, formats for thumbnail, large, medium. So it gives you all the different content types, sizes, and it did all the processing for us, which is really nice, especially when you talk about images are one of the main reasons for slow performance on the web. All right, thanks for that, Bruno. Really helpful. Let's see what else we can do. Liam says, could you show what you changed in settings roles? Yeah, let's get to that in a second when we get to authorization and authentication. Tarek, any numbers on performance? I don't have those numbers. Maybe the Strappy docs do. It would be fun to stress test, though. Is it feasible to use Strappy for micro messaging? I know that there was a point where real-time streams were in their API, on their roadmap. I don't know where it landed. But yes, any sort of thing that you can give out from an API, Strappy can do really well. Do you know if Strappy supports rate limiting? I do not know that. The docs would probably know. Let's see. How do you edit and use pagination? So the cool thing about V4 is that Strappy has standardized how all of their API responses look. So you're always going to have data, and you're always going to have this meta, which is pagination for page one, page size, page count, total. And you could probably pass in, and I don't know the syntax for this, page two. Invalid pagination attributes. You cannot use page and offset pagination in the same query. So what's interesting is I didn't use offset on this one. So let's say page is 2, page size is equal to 1. We'll probably have to check the docs for this one. So search for pagination. All right. This looks like it comes from the entity service. I want the REST API. Paginate right here. Here we go. So pagination, and then you pass it in like that. And then pagination for page size, you pass it in like that. So let's try that right here. So let's do that right there. Pagination, page 1, and pagination size 1. Let's go enter. And there we go. We have that. So if we change that to, sorry, that was wrong. That should be 1, and this should be 10. So let's change this to 2. Oh, page size needs to go back to 1. There we go. So that's how pagination works. But just like that, you saw how nice the docs and the search in docs is to be able to do all that. All right. How are we doing? Awesome. Cool. So let's see. Can you set up DigitalOcean spaces to save Strappy media files? Yes, you can. If you go to storage, is it? Yeah, like they have one, like this one is going to S3. So there's another one that goes to Google Cloud Storage. DigitalOcean Spaces is an option as well. So just go through the docs and do all that good stuff for the AWS instructions. Cool. Let's see. I was going to go on and move on, but I think this next question is a really good one from Adam. How do you connect Strapi to an existing database that's already optimized for large data sets? Database configuration. So under config/database.js, you can go in and pick your connection. How does it work with existing databases? I don't know that answer, but This is how you can connect to multiple different types of databases. I don't know if pointing Strappy at an existing database would work, but because of just how the data needs to be structured. But that's a good question. I feel like I'm saying I don't know a lot in this, but the cool thing about this is I don't know, and the Strappy docs are really good. And the Strappy team is very helpful. Their Discord is fantastic. Okay, so let's jump ahead. Send an email real quick on that one. They have Strappy plugins for email, and you can, in your code, like we pointed out the code right here under routers, controllers, and services, you can go in there and write some code that looks like this and send out emails based on API endpoints and data in your database. So all that stuff can be programmatically done from those files, which is really nice. All right, so what I want to do now is talk about authentication authorization. And there was a question earlier about what I changed in settings, roles. So if I go over here and I go to public, under tweet, for public, we are able to find one for tweets. So if I uncheck those, uncheck that, and I click save, and I go back to my API and I refresh, let's just go to /API/tweets. Doesn't allow us to provide any data to a public user, to a non-authenticated user. So if we go back and enable those again, we would be able to see data coming from this right there. So let's say we wanted to create tweets from our API though. So what I want to do is take a step back from this because you can't do a post request, which is how we're going to create things with the Strappy API. Let's get out of our browser and let's go into VS Code. And I'm going to use a tool called Thunder Client, which lets us do requests. It's kind of like Postman, but inside of VS Code. And I think a lot faster than Postman. Postman's gotten slow these days. So let's go and Alexandra will answer that in a second. C Rich, next auth. I'll show you how authentication works from the API standpoint, and then however you can implement it from the front end using, like, let's say next and next auth. I believe next auth lets you do it using Strappy's API. So let me show you what that looks like. New request. So the endpoint to authenticate a user will HTTP localhost 1337, or when you host it, whatever URL you have, /API/auth/local/register is the way that you create an account, and /auth/local is the way that you authenticate an account. And I'm going to backtrack on that, remove the API. It's just /auth/local and /auth/local/register. So let's go ahead and register real quick. I'm going to do a post. Headers, we're going to leave all that. Authorization, none needed because we're doing a registration. Body, JSON content. Let's go for, we're going to say username is going to be, let's get somebody out of chat. C. I just pressed a button that I don't know what it did. Let's go for C. Email, c@ocean.com. And let's go for password. Is going to be password 123. Don't do that. Okay. So if we click send here, method not allowed. Let's see, post to 133 say auth local register. That's what I pressed. Okay. Thanks, King. I pressed remove screen. Okay. So method not allowed. Let's go double check what's going on here. Is it API slash auth local register? Yes, it is. Okay. So bring that back. There is the API in there. So now we have registered a brand new user. And this is what comes back. We get the user object, which has ID, username, email, provider, and provider local because it's using email password. Strappy does let you do social authentication as well, which is cool. And it gives us a JWT token, which is what we're going to use to authenticate all of our future requests. So once we have that JWT, let's go back to our API and let's just make sure that we have created a new user. We go to Content Manager and we go to Users over here, and there is our brand new user. Eddie. Cool. So we have created a brand new user. So now let's go say, hey, tweets should only be visible to authenticated users. So if I go to public, let's go down here. Let's remove find and find one. I'll click save. Let's go back to roles and say authenticated users though, tweet. You can now find one, create, update, and delete. So an authenticated user can do all of those things. Let's click save. Now let's go back to our API. Let's go create a brand new request. Let's go over here, new request, HTTP localhost 1337/API/tweets. If I just want to get them all, press send. Did I type that in wrong? Localhost, there we go. Forbidden, let's go to authorization, bearer token, paste in that bearer token, send, and now we get the data. So authentication out of the box is really easy to do. We just get that nice JWT token and it handles it for us. Let's go do a post, API/tweets, body. Let's do content is what's up, King. Likes, and let's do 100. I send that. Validation error. Oh, so since v4, we have to format our data a certain way, and that's going to be data. We need a data object like this. So v4 for Strapi standardized the way that all requests and responses are made, and basically all of them are wrapped in a data object, which is really nice because in previous Strapi, there was a lot of what data did I get back? How is it formatted? Now it's all in this same format. So that's really nice. Click send and check it out. The response is also wrapped in a data object. All of it coming back there. So that is really nice to see. Let's go back over here. Content manager. We have tweets, brand new one that came from our API. We have our user, still exists there. And role is authenticated. You could change out the roles. So you could have, let's say, an admin user, and then you could change out the permissions for that admin user by going into settings, roles, and saying this admin user can access tweets and stuff like that. So really powerful system to do whatever you need to do in your APIs. So let's see. Alexandru says, let's say we make one table named posts and have a relationship with users. The API will show all users' data to public view. So what we're going to do is, I think we can close out this and then we'll do Q&A. So we'll go to content type builder. Here's our tweets. Let's drop this dynamic zone. Let's add another field for our user. And this is what gets really cool, because doing this in code in SQL, not the most fun, is a relation. So let's click relation. Field name, we're going to call this author. So each tweet has an author. And then instead of tweets, we're going to have it link to the user permissions table. And I got to change this back to author. Now this is really cool. A tweet has one user. A tweet has and belongs to one user, so a one-to-one relationship. One-to-many, so a tweet belongs to many users. This would be helpful if you had posts and you had multiple authors writing a single post. But for this, a user has many tweets, I think, is the one that we need to use. We don't need this one or this one. We're going to have a user has many tweets. So just these like 1, 2, 3, 6 icons, really powerful stuff, especially if you've ever done that by hand, not fun. So we'll click finish. So we have an author. I'm going to click save. We'll go over to content manager. Let's do this one. And I'm going to change the author to C. Save. So now we have this tweet, which is tweet number 4. And you can also see the ID of it in our entire list, tweet ID 4. It has the author. Let's go find that in our API. So let's go here, API/tweets/4, press enter, forbidden. So we do need to go back and update our permissions. Oh, that's the wrong way. Let's go back to settings, user and permissions plugin roles, public, tweet, find one. I'll click save there. Let's go back over, refresh, and there we go. So the question from Alexandra is, would users relationship be available to all public users? Well, I think ideally you would not want to just expose your API. Let's say populate author. Was author, right? Content manager for author, yeah. So I don't know why that didn't show up actually, but yeah, ideally you would lock that down. You wouldn't allow that to be sent out to anybody, and you would just make sure that all of your APIs only returned what data that you wanted. And the dashboard for Strappy is actually really powerful at doing all of that sort of stuff. Cool. So check that out. We got through a whole tech talk and didn't even have to write any code. And that's kind of the benefit of Strappy and these headless CMSs where you can build out your content types, your data, connect to a database, and generate an API all kind of out of the box. So I hope that was helpful. We are wrapping up this tech talk. Thank you again for joining. This is always so much fun. And let's see, marketplace is something else I want to talk about. In V3, there was an extension for GraphQL. So you can turn this from a REST API into a GraphQL API. But it looks like the marketplace is down for a second while V4 is getting pushed out. Jimmy B with no code is good code. I like saying that all code is a liability, because writing code is one thing, maintaining the code is a whole other ballgame. And the less code you write, the less you have to maintain. And to be honest, I was not the biggest fan of these no-code solutions. Like, I would have been a Laravel fan and said, use Laravel, super powerful stuff. But Strappy is actually one of the tools that has changed my mind to being a little bit of a less, getting closer to no code. I think there's always going to be code necessary, so I would always try to call it low code instead of no code. But tools like this are fantastic. I think a lot of the market is pushing in this direction, and that's all good. Strappy has a whole team of engineers that are incredibly talented at what they do, let them handle it, right? You're essentially getting a lot of work done for you and not having to pay too much for it, not paying engineers for it. Bruno is right. Yes. With Strapi, you get both the code and the no code, and you get to use whichever you want, which is really powerful, especially when you say you want to break out and do a little bit more in the code right here. Powerful stuff to be able to do it all from here. Content types, it should have the author that we created, relation many to one, inverse by tweets, all of that stuff handled just by clicking a couple things in a dashboard. Eddie says, is this version 4? Yes, it is. Strapi just came out with v4, strapi.io/v4. Great launch by the team. Fantastic. The UI, really nice. Liam with the good question. If you edit the API code, can you continue to use the Strapi interface? Yes, you can. Strapi actually does a great job of saying like, oh, if you broke something here, server's restarting. Okay, let's see if anything breaks in our dashboard. It just said invalidated, so it kind of removed it. So I think in v3 that showed an error, but in v4 here, it just, which I think is nice, it just keeps going and kind of just says, okay, there's an error in that area, remove it completely. So I think they did a good job with that. But the code that you write here, where am I? The code that you write here corresponds to your dashboard. So there we go. They go hand in hand, honestly. So if you mess up here, the dashboard kind of breaks or shows errors, and I think that's a really great way to unify and make sure that everything's kind of plugged in. Let's see the docs. Let's see authorization. Role permissions. Let's see. Token usage. So when you get into your files, the way that you can get the user object that's logged in is context.state.user. And what's cool is now that you have that user, you can check if that user is able to like do updates to a certain resource. You're able to check if that user, I don't know, doesn't have the certain permissions and all sorts of stuff. So you can add custom logic that goes hand in hand with what you did in the dashboard. iPave, that is a good question though. Should we follow up? Yes, I think there's a lot of stuff that we can do with Strapi. Maybe even bring on more of the Strapi team and do a joint talk with them. But yes, I think Strapi has a lot of popularity these days, especially gaining with v4. Let's do more. All right, everybody. If we're all good, any more questions? We're going to be wrapping up pretty soon. Sherry Wilson, how to integrate with Django or any other stuffs. So Django is another backend framework. Yeah, Django backend framework in Python. So the idea here is there's this push of like microservice architecture, microservices. So if you can segment your application into multiple APIs, Strapi is a great job at doing an API. Strapi also does a great job at saying, look, we're an API. If you want to bring any front end, you can access our data through our REST API, our GraphQL API, and use it however you want. So Strapi can talk to other APIs. Let's say you built an API with Django. It can talk to that API, go grab data from that. Django can grab data from this Strapi API, and either one of those could consolidate your information and send it out to a front end, let's say React, Vue, Next.js, whatever. But yeah, in both of these cases, you have a database, you have an API, you're just sending out JSON data, really. This is all your API needs to look like. So yeah. Eddie, will this video be available on YouTube or as a download? How long until it's available? The cool thing about streaming on YouTube here is that it's available immediately. So if you come here to the DigitalOcean YouTube channel, and while we're here, if you did enjoy this video, please hit like and subscribe. It lets YouTube know, hey, they're making good content. Chris is okay as a person, and we're doing good stuff. So really appreciate it if you could. And let's see. Yeah, the video will always be here on YouTube, not coming down ever, or at least until YouTube comes down, which seems like never. Support organizational access for a SaaS. Are you talking about more authorization type rules? So there's roles here, and then you could apply certain roles. Like let's say we had an admin role for super admins or something. Then admins by themselves could delete tweets. This is probably what Twitter did. Admins had the ability to delete and edit tweets, but all other users, so let's go back. They probably said all authenticated users, no way they're deleting. Well, I guess we can delete. No updating, no editing tweets. And public users for sure can't do either of those. So there's that as far as roles. And then there are more fine-grained things that you can do in your code when you want to add in more fine-tuned permissions. Fiddle says, why use Strapi over Express.js and make your own API? Because we did this entire API in this past hour and we didn't write a single line of code. And I think to do the same exact thing in Express would take a lot longer because you talk about authorization, authentication, roles and permissions, filtering, pagination, all that stuff comes out of the box with Strapi. In Express, you'd have to pull middleware, you'd have to write that yourself. What we did in 1 hour, I think would take you at least 2 days in Express. Oh, multi-tenancy organizational access. I am not sure, aside from the quick answers saying everybody gets their own Strappy install. Other than that, I am not sure on that answer. I wonder if the docs have anything on it. For sure, the Strappy team support is fantastic. I think that's why they're getting so much love is because of their support. There was a question I missed. Can Strappy use TypeScript instead of vanilla JS? I don't know that one. It seems like a lot of the code base is in just JavaScript. So I don't know if they do have a TypeScript version. Yarn, any advantage over NPM? I think these days they're pretty synonymous, Yarn and NPM. Yarn did a great job at pushing NPM into adding new great features, but personally, I use NPM. I know a lot of people use Yarn. They're all good. Cool. All right. Well, Jimmy, thanks so much for joining. Alexandru, they don't have, I think, are you talking about multi-tenancy? Yeah, let's go. Last thing. I know I always say last thing. Strap your roadmap. The team is fantastic at doing transparency for their roadmap. They have a product board here. So it looks like priorities. Oh, these are under consideration planned is data migration across environments, in progress for development, bulk entry creation, testing launched V4. These two are probably their big ones. Under consideration, cloud hosting platform, and you can go vote on these for the ones that you want to see the most. Let's see, authentication providers is in there. HTML WYSIWYG editor. Multi-tenancy is in the request, so it looks like they don't have support for it yet. Oh, and TypeScript. There we go. TypeScript has the most votes. GraphQL subscriptions for real-time data. That's also in there. So they have a busy year ahead of them. It is exciting stuff when you talk about what we did in 1 hour and what we still could do. So you could build your API in, less than an hour and start building your front end because your users care about your front end, right? Or your users care about the user experience. So, all right, let's wrap it up here. I know I've said that like 10 times now. Thank you everybody for joining. Really appreciate you. Again, if you could like and subscribe down below, really appreciate it. Thanks so much for being here. This is my last Tech Talk for the year. We are going to come back strong next year with some great new content. Sounds like Strappy is high up on the list of what people want to see. And yeah, thanks so much for joining, and I'll see you in the new year. Have a great rest of your year. Wow. Thanks, everybody.